I never thought the woman who smiled at me on my wedding day would someday stand outside my home with armed security guards and watch silently as my own husband chose her power over my love. My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of how my own mother-in-law destroyed my marriage without ever laying a hand on me. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My father worked at a gas station. My mother cleaned houses for a living. We were poor, but we were honest. We never owned luxury, but we owned peace. I studied hard, got into nursing school, and one day, during my internship at a private hospital, I met Daniel Whitmore. Tall, soft-spoken, polite. He treated me like I mattered. I didn't know that I wasn't falling in love with a man. I was walking into a war between power and poverty. Daniel's family owned half the buildings in our city. His mother, Victoria Whitmore, was famous, feared, and filthy rich. When Daniel told her about me, she smiled, but her eyes didn't. At our first dinner together, she asked softly, "So, Emily, what does your father do?" "He works at a gas station, ma'am." Silence fell on the table like a coffin lid. Then she smiled again and said, "How humble." From that day, I knew she would never accept me. Still, Daniel fought for me. Against his family, against their threats, against their money. We got married anyway. But on my wedding day, Victoria wore black. Not white, not gold, black. As if she was attending a funeral. Maybe she was the funeral of my peace. After marriage, Daniel asked me to move into his family mansion. I was scared, but I trusted my husband. Big mistake. From the first morning, Victoria controlled everything. What I wore, what I cooked, when I slept, who I talked to. If Daniel was late from work, she blamed me. If he was stressed, she blamed me. And if I ever defended myself, she called me ungrateful. One evening, at a family dinner, she said loudly, "Emily, you ate before Daniel again?" I replied softly, "He was late. I didn't want the food to get cold." She slammed her fork. In this house, the husband eats first. Everyone watched. Daniel stayed silent. That night, I cried quietly beside him, and he turned his face away. That was the moment I realized my husband was slowly becoming her son again. 3 months later, Daniel and I had a small argument. Nothing serious, just normal couple stress. But his mother turned it into a weapon. That evening, I heard sirens outside the mansion. I went to the window, and my hands started shaking. 3 black SUVs, private security guards, armed. Victoria stood at the gate, pointing at me, and she said the words that destroyed my life. "Remove her from my property." I ran to Daniel. "Tell her to stop! Tell her I'm your wife!" Daniel stood frozen, confused, afraid. Then his mother whispered something in his ear, and he looked at me like I was a stranger. "Emily, just leave for tonight." My heart cracked. "Daniel, this is our home." He didn't reply. The guard stepped forward. I was escorted out like a criminal. I left with one handbag, one phone, and a broken soul. Behind me, the gates closed, and my marriage ended without divorce papers. That night, I slept on a bus station bench. My own husband never called, and I had no idea that what was coming next would hurt even more than that night. That night, I became homeless, not because I didn't have a husband, but because my husband didn't have a spine. 3 days later, weak, dizzy, I collapsed outside a pharmacy. A kind woman helped me. At the clinic, the doctor said the words that changed everything. "Emily, you're pregnant." My hands trembled. I was carrying a child with no home, no money, no husband. I charged my phone at a coffee shop. Called Daniel. This time, he answered. "Daniel, I'm pregnant." Silence. Then his cold words. "My mother already knows." That broke me. She said if the child is yours, she will make sure it never carries the Whitmore name. Then the line went dead. Days later, Victoria called me. Her voice was calm, deadly calm. "You belong to the streets, Emily. That's where girls like you come from." She offered money. "If you disappear quietly, you'll never hear from us again." I refused. She replied, "Then I will destroy you publicly." Weeks passed. No support, no shelter. One day, I saw Daniel on TV. Engagement announcement with another woman. Chosen by her mother. That moment, something inside me died forever. I gave birth alone. No husband, no family, no celebration. Just pain and a tiny baby girl in my arms. I named her Grace because that's all I had left. As I held my baby, I whispered, "They took your father, but they will never take your destiny." 5 years passed. I worked 2 jobs. Cleaner by day, waitress by night. Grace grew up without knowing her father. One day she asked, "Mama, where is my daddy?" And I had no answer. One stormy evening, a man stood at my door. Older. Broken. It was Daniel. "My mother is dead. She lost everything, and I lost everything with her." He saw Grace. "She looks like me." Yes, and that destroyed him. He cried, begged. I chose wrong. I chose power over love. I looked at him and said, "Daniel, you didn't lose me that night at the gate. You lost yourself." Grace asked, "Mama, is this my daddy?" I said yes. She nodded and went back inside. No hug, no tears, no miracle. Daniel left with nothing. No forgiveness, no family. Only regret. Some betrayals are too deep to be healed. Money can buy power, but it can never buy loyalty. A weak man destroys his own destiny, and a strong woman survives even the deepest wounds. If you liked this emotional story, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share the story with someone who believes in true love and strength.